So what we'll do now is talk a little bit about why international students may want to study here in Canada. Probably one of the main reasons why they want to study is that we are known for a high quality of education across the board at all levels of study, whether you're in elementary school, secondary school, or you're in any post-secondary option in Canada. We have a very, very high quality of education. According to the OECD data, Canada is one of only a handful of countries with above average spending in post-secondary education. So specifically looking at post-secondary education, we spend over 2% of our national GDP on post-secondary education. So that's partly why we have a very good education system, is that because we spend a lot of that public money on our education system. So we are predominantly a public university and college system. We have great universities and colleges across the entire country. From the university side of things, we have 30 universities that are ranked in the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. 5 of those universities are ranked in the top 100 of those rankings. University of Toronto is the top of that, and Angela's going to go into some more detail about that for you. But you've got some great quality choices to make here in Canada. When it comes to the university and college system, we have about 96 public universities, about 127 different public colleges. And we're predominantly a public system here in Canada. What we're going to focus on for today and for this session is exclusively the university program, or university institutions. And in Canada, we do differ between universities and colleges. The universities are going to be those 4-year degree granting institutions, ones that offer bachelor's degrees and are home to things like a faculty of medicine or law or dentistry. The colleges in Canada are separate entities, and they are those more 2- or 3-year diploma granting institutions that are more hands-on, applied, or vocational. So if you're looking for that hands-on learning experience, most students will look to colleges, depending on what you're interested in studying. But for today, we're going to focus on the universities specifically. So the style of education that we have here in Canada is very similar to other countries around the world, including the US, for example. So you'll find 4-year bachelor degree programs at our institutions. We offer direct entry programs that you can apply to directly from high school, and they could be general program areas. So something like an arts program, business, or science, but it can also include professional programs. So things like engineering, music, or kinesiology programs. And these are programs that you can apply to directly out of high school, start them in your first year, and continue for all 4 years. Something that you're going to find across universities in Canada, and especially the University of Toronto, are flexible degree options. So if you have an interest, let's say in chemistry and English, and you want to double major in both, you can do that at universities in Canada very easily, and you can do that at the University of Toronto very easily. Now, Canada works very similar to the US when it comes to things like second entry programs. So that would be programs like medicine, nursing, law, pharmacy, dentistry, for example. These are programs that are called second entry because you can't apply to them directly from high school. You need to come in to do at least 2, maybe 3, sometimes 4 years of university first before you can go on into a program in medicine or law, for example. And then, of course, across Canada, you'll find a wide range of graduate and professional programs. You'll find master's, PhD programs, postgrad programs, things like that at our institutions. Now, those 96 universities in Canada are typically broken up into 3 different categories. So these are the 3 different types of institutions that you'll find across the country. We have what we call medical doctoral research universities, and these are typically larger universities that have a large student population. And by large in Canada, we mean around 20,000 to upwards of 35,000 undergraduate students on a campus. The medical doctoral research universities have a range of undergraduate and graduate programs. We also offer a ton of graduate programs, including PhD programs and medical schools. So the University of Toronto is a great example of a medical doctoral research university. The second category of universities that we have are comprehensive universities. And these are typically mid-sized universities in terms of student population. And by mid-sized in Canada, we mean around 10 to 20,000 undergraduate students on a particular campus. They offer a range of undergraduate programs and graduate programs, and they include professional programs, but they don't include things like medicine or law, for example. So those are comprehensive universities. And the last category of universities that you will find are primarily undergraduate universities. And so these are typically smaller universities. And by small, we mean anywhere from like 2,000 to maybe 10,000 university students on a campus, where the focus is on primarily undergraduate education. So there may be some graduate programs, and some graduate students at those schools, but it's predominantly undergraduate programs and students that those universities are working towards. What you'll find also at Canadian universities is one of the places where we shine are experiential opportunities. And so across Canada, you're going to find a lot of opportunities for students to get some hands-on learning as part of their degree program. It could be through work experiences where you can actually get paid work experiences through things like co-op programs, internship programs. We also offer work study programs. So if you're an international student here in Canada, in order for you to enter Canada, you must be here on a study permit. And that study permit does allow you to have some limited work experience. So if you wanted to work on campus or off campus with certain specific conditions, you're able to do that as an international student when you're here. And if you do that and you make a ton of great connections while you're an undergraduate student at a Canadian university, after you graduate from a Canadian university, you're eligible to apply for a postgraduate work permit, which will allow you to stay in Canada for up to 3 years after graduation. So you can get some really valuable Canadian work experience as part of your, after you've graduated with your university degree. Canadian schools also are really big on international opportunities. So beyond just coming to Canada as an international student, if you wanted to go abroad during the summer or during the school year, you'll find a ton of opportunities for exchange programs and things like that. And we also offer a ton of research opportunities for students at the undergraduate level, especially at those medical doctoral research universities like the University of Toronto. So even undergraduate students will have opportunities to get research, even as early as their second year. Now, across Canada, the application process is a fairly simplified application process. So especially if you compare us to universities in the US, for example, where you've got to do big college essays, get recommendation letters and all that kind of stuff, you don't have to do that for Canadian schools. The application process is done in 2 steps. And if that's one of the things that you remember today, that's one of the most important things to remember is for Canada, the application is done in 2 steps. The first step is an online application. And sometimes you can apply directly to the university, depending on the school, but there are some of us that will share an application. So for example, the University of Toronto, we are located in the province of Ontario, and there are 21 other universities that you can choose from on a common application called the Ontario Universities Application Center, or OUAC. You can use that application to apply to several universities here in the province of Ontario. Regardless of which application you choose, the application is just going to ask for who you are, where you're from, where you want to study, and what you want to study. So on this application, you're really just telling us that you're interested in studying at our school and sending it off. Once you do that, every university you've applied to is going to come back to you and say, great, we have your application. Now you've got to do this. And that's the second step. And that's where you will complete your application. And that's where we're going to be looking for you to submit all of your required documents, including transcripts or supplemental applications if they're required, English language tests, for example. All of that will be a part of that second step of the application. When we consider students for admission in Canada, most universities and most programs will focus primarily on your academic performance. So your grades, especially in your final 2 years of high school, are going to be the most important thing that we're looking at for admission to our universities. There may be some universities and some programs within universities that will ask you to fill out a supplemental application where you'll tell us a little bit more about yourself, maybe why you're interested in studying in that particular program or that particular school. But the idea of that kind of holistic university admissions process like you find in the US doesn't really exist in Canada. If we require any of that extra information from you, we will ask you for it. So it's always a part of that second step. In terms of admission timelines, we try to follow US timelines almost. So our applications typically open at the end of September, beginning of October, and they stay open for the next couple of months until around January, sometimes February. We always encourage students to submit an application in early, regardless of where you're applying, because you do have those 2 steps, that second step of submitting your documents. The earlier you submit your application, the earlier you submit your documents, the earlier you may get a decision from the university in Canada. And decisions typically roll out anywhere between December and May of your final year of high school. And then we ask you to accept your offers, usually at the end of, beginning of May, end of April, around there. So again, the most important thing to remember about applying to Canada is the application is done in 2 steps. First step, online application. Second step, submitting all of your documents and things that are required for admission. And Angela's going to talk a little bit more in detail about how that works for U of T very shortly. If you're interested in learning more about Canadian universities, these are 3 really great resources for you. You've got our EduCanada website, Universities Canada. and the Ontario Universities Application Centre if you're interested in learning more about universities here in the province of Ontario. But what we're going to do is turn it over to Angela now, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the University of Toronto and give you a very quick overview of Canada's top university. Take it away, Angela.
Thanks so much, Natasha. So without wasting any time, folks, for those of you who may have popped in late, just a quick introduction again. My name is Angela, and I'll be doing this quick overview of the University of Toronto, which is considered one of Canada's best universities. So the University of Toronto is Canada's #1 university and Canada's flagship university for research and discovery. And what this means is that our students and faculty don't just teach and learn, but they actually redraw the boundaries of what there is to learn. It's because of this that we have an incredible reputation for academic strength, leadership in every discipline, and the cutting edge work that we do in the lab, in the studio, and in the field. So it's no wonder that we're not just Canada's best university, but we're one of the world's best universities. And when you graduate with a U of T degree, you can take it anywhere and be sure that any employer will be impressed. A U of T degree is a globally recognized mark of quality and versatility, and a big part of why we have alumni living and working in 190 different countries. This is in part because our campuses attract the best and brightest from all over the world. So a lot of you may know that insulin was discovered at U of T, but what you might not have known is that stem cell research was also discovered here too. The world's first nerve transplant, the world's first electronic pacemaker, and the world's first treatment for Hodgkin's lymphoma. These are just a few of U of T's many contributions to the larger scale. We've also produced Oscar Award winners, Olympic champions, prime ministers, Nobel laureates, and best-selling authors such as Margaret Atwood and Malcolm Gladwell. The second takeaway is that U of T is a network of unique communities in the heart of one of the most dynamic regions in the world, which is Toronto and the Greater Toronto Area. In fact, the BBC once ranked us the world's most diverse city, and while there are a lot of contenders, we're definitely up there. And in fact, half of Toronto's population was born outside of Canada and speaks languages other than English. The city is safe, clean, my personal favorite, delicious, and it has something for everyone, including limitless opportunities to network, to collaborate, and to innovate. You might not have known that Toronto is home to North America's second largest financial services district, second only to New York, which is pretty cool. Or that the Toronto International Film Festival, TIFF for short, which just ended this past week, or which is just ending this weekend actually, rivals Cannes in prestige and influence. Anchored by the Toronto Stock Exchange and one of North America's largest design industries, the GTA is an economic powerhouse whose major industries include biotechnology, healthcare, fashion, and aerospace engineering. And not only are our campuses nestled in Canada's economic heartland, we're also just a stone's throw away from world-class museums, restaurants, open-air markets, parks, galleries, street festivals, and live music for every mood. So you name it, and we got it. Our central location has also made us Canada's largest university, with nearly 200 academic departments and institutes and 10,000 courses on offer, which is the country's largest selection. Students have the advantage of choice. And one of those first choices that you'll be making is which campus you'll want to study at, because we have 3 amazing options for you. All 3 of our campuses are located within an hour of each other, offer the same top quality education, and are self-contained. When you graduate, you'll earn the same U of T degree. The campus you choose makes no difference. Each offers a distinct environment and has some unique features, so it's more a matter of personality and fit. But remember, U of T is one fantastic university. We've got 3 campuses, but you'll receive the same U of T diploma. So let's start to the west with U of T Mississauga, which is about a half-hour west of the Toronto City Centre in the city of Mississauga. It's a mid-sized campus with about 15,000 students, and it's located on 225 acres of beautiful green space, complete with trees, woodlands, grass, and even deer. Most of the buildings have been recently built, so it has a very modern feel. Students at U of T Mississauga can choose between programs within the arts, the sciences, and business, as well as programs offered jointly with Sheridan College. Moving on, St. George is the founding U of T campus and is located in the heart of the city center. It has over 35,000 undergraduate students and has a good mix of older Gothic-style buildings, along with new, modern state-of-the-art facilities. It is the largest of our 3 campuses, but it has many layers of smaller communities within it for students to call home. The St. George campus includes academic communities for the Daniels Faculty of Architecture, Landscape and Design, the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering, the Faculty of Kinesiology and Physical Education, and the Faculty of Music, or one of our 7 colleges located within the Faculty of Arts and Science. That's only for students who are studying arts, business, or science on the St. George campus. U of T Scarborough is located 30 minutes east of downtown Toronto and is a mid-sized campus with over 14,000 students. It's located on over 300 acres of parkland by the Highland with beautiful hiking trails and is a close-knit campus with a vibrant and diverse student body. Students at U of T Scarborough can choose between programs in the arts, science, and business, as well as leverage our co-op programs, which is offered in over 60 different program areas. Having 3 campuses means that you have choices. If you want to go to a big school in the heart of a vibrant city, we've got that. If you want to go to a smaller school in a more residential, park-like community, we've got that too. And remember, regardless of which campus you choose to call home, everyone graduates with the same University of Toronto degree. Once you get to U of T, we want to ensure that you're happy and you're reaching your full potential. So there are a lot of ways in which we support our students to achieve this. Things like academic success centers, learning strategists, peer mentors. These are just a few of the ways that we support our students. As well, our professors all have office hours to meet with you on a one-on-one basis. And what we're finding is that most U of T students are taking advantage of these services, so much so that 91% successfully go on from year 1 into year 2, which is higher than the provincial average. The third and final takeaway that I want to mention here today is that U of T students can really mix and match programs and experiences to build personalized degrees. With over 700 program options, there's really no shortage of opportunities because that is the best selection of programs in all of Canada. At U of T, many programs are available on all 3 campuses, which really allows students the option to choose the environment that they want to study at. Other programs are unique to a campus. For example, the St. George campus offers over 50 different languages in the arts. Forensic science is only offered at Uoft Mississauga, and journalism is exclusive to U of T Scarborough. We have the highest ranked Faculty of Engineering in Canada, with 8 core programs you can apply to directly from high school, including computer, civil, mechanical, so on. We also have an undecided first year called Track 1 Undeclared, where you can declare from the core 8 programs after your first year, and you are guaranteed admission into your choice of core 8 program. Lastly, we offer engineering science, which is an enriched program where students spend their first 2 years in high-level, multidisciplinary engineering courses before going on to choose a specialization later on. Our 3 remaining communities are a bit smaller in size and unique to the St. George campus. If you're looking for a strong foundation in design thinking or preparation for a career in architecture, interior design, or urban planning, our programs in architectural studies and visual studies might be what you're looking for. If you're leaning more toward physical therapy or sports medicine, you'll definitely want to pursue kinesiology, which is the study of human movement through a hands-on curriculum, packed with practicums, community placements, and fieldwork. And if you're wanting to study music, well, there's really no better place to study music than in the heart of downtown Toronto. The Faculty of Music is U of T's smallest faculty, and it specializes in ensemble-based learning and weekly one-on-one instruction, where students get to hone their craft under dedicated faculty mentors. At U of T, you of course can apply what you've done in the classroom to the real world by participating in paid work placements through our co-op and co-op PEY programs to research opportunity programs. There's many ways that you can engage with us outside of the classroom. Students can also enjoy international experiences. Through a formal exchange program, we have over 160 partner institutions located in more than 40 countries across the globe. 2 summer abroad programs, where you take a U of T course with other U of T students taught by a U of T professor somewhere else in the world where that topic has social and cultural relevance. And as Canada's largest university, you of course can be involved in any of our over 1,000 different student clubs, committees, and organizations. You can even be a part of Canada's largest athletic program with either our U of T Varsity Blues or our extensive intramural program. So, if being a part of Canada's flagship university with unique communities and the opportunity to personalize your degree sounds great, How do we get you there? Let's briefly switch gears for a moment and talk about the application process. And Natasha referenced this in her portion of the presentation. But again, the most important thing to take away from this presentation is that applying to the University of Toronto happens in 2 steps. The first step is an online application where you provide your contact information, academic history, and tell us that you're interested in studying at the University of Toronto. The second step is to submit all of your required documents. We'll tell you what we need from you. We'll also provide you instructions on how to do that via our Join U of T applicant portal after you've submitted your initial application. So here's a timeline of when everything that we've just talked about will happen, typically in your grade 12 or your senior year of high school. Admission decisions are released in ongoing rounds starting in January and continuing onward to spring. Again, if you ever want to track the status of your application, just log right into Join. So to briefly go over that, submit your application. For students outside of an Ontario high school, we really encourage you to apply by that November 7th deadline. About a week to 2 weeks later, you'll receive credentials to log into your Join U of T applicant portal. If you're applying to engineering, you'll be redirected to your engineering applicant portal. And the next step would be to submit documents. These might include things like English facility tests, if you're required to submit that, supplemental profiles, depending on the program you're applying to, and any self-reported grades. Now, again, the official deadline to submit for most programs is mid-January, but try to aim for that November 7th date if you can. The deadline for document submission is February 1st. Applying to residence, if you're interested, you have to indicate interest by March 31st. And then from there, it's just a waiting game. So you can expect to hear back from us anywhere between January onward until May. So on to the money, which I'm sure many of you have a lot of questions about. So really listen to this part really closely. U of T is pleased to offer a range of scholarships varying in value for international students. Applicants are automatically considered for these awards, which means no separate application is required. Successful candidates will receive notice of the scholarship at the time that they receive an offer of admission or shortly afterwards. So to highlight one of our most esteemed awards for international students, we have the Lester B. Pearson International Scholarship, which covers the cost of 4 years of study, as well as university residence costs and other tuition and incidental costs. It does require a nomination by your school and a supplemental application by the student. And if you or your school's nominee, or your school is nominating you, you'll have the link to the application sent to you. The deadline to be nominated for that is November 30th of each year. So if you do have questions about that, speak to your school counselor to learn more information. So I think with that, we have a few minutes and no more to answer your questions. But I thank you so much for that part of the presentation, and I'll send it back to Natasha.
Great, thanks, Angela. We've got a ton of questions. We're not going to be able to get to all of them as part of the session today. We do have that drop-in Q&A at the end of the program today, so anyone who's interested, it's 1 hour long for you to just pepper our recruitment team with questions. So if we can't get to you right now, not to worry, you've got lots of other opportunities to connect. We talked a little bit, the most upvoted question, Angela, is I think the one that you highlighted last as part of the application and made sure people paid attention to, which was the International Student Scholarship Program. And as Angela said, all of our students that apply to the university are considered automatically for merit-based awards. There's no separate application that you need to do. That Award Explorer link is a really handy one, and maybe Josh can put that in the chat for us if he hasn't already, because that's a searchable database of all of our scholarships. And you can take a look at what's open to international students for admission. Also, once you're here as a student, you can find everything that you need to know about our scholarship programs with that link, with that Award Explorer link.
Great. The next one we have is when applying to University of Toronto or any other Canadian universities, are you required to have a major in the specific program you apply to, or can you switch later on?
So it may depend on the school, but generally Canadian universities will allow you to apply to a general program area. So for example, at U of T, you would apply to a humanities program. At some schools, you might apply to a faculty of arts for that specific area. And then at the end of your first year, sometimes your second year, depending on the university, you would declare a specific major. And for U of T, you would declare that at the end of your first year. There are a couple of exceptions to that, and that would be things like the professional programs that we mentioned earlier that Angela highlighted as well. So things like engineering, music, kinesiology, and the architectural studies programs, those ones are ones you can apply to directly out of high school. So you don't have to spend a year doing kind of general study in those areas. You can jump right into your first year.
Okay, so this question was definitely covered in the presentation, but we can go back to it. For the application process, are any personal statements or personal profiles required?
So for the University of Toronto, the vast majority of our programs don't require this information. There are some programs, and it's usually some of the more competitive programs that do require a supplemental application. So if you're on the St. George campus, for example, it's going to be the Faculty of Music, Kinesiology, the Daniels Faculty of Architecture, Landscape and Design, the Faculty of Engineering, Roman Commerce and Computer Science that require these supplemental applications. Our UTM campus will require an audition for the Drama and Dramaturgy program, and our Scarborough campus will require a supplemental application for their management programs, paramedicine, the International Development Studies program. There are a handful of programs at UT that do require them. But as Angela mentioned, it's always part of that second step of the application. So it's not something that you have to worry about submitting right away on the initial application. We will let you know if it's required.
Great. I think that's time, but maybe quick in one-liner, I can answer this next question, which is kindly explain the admissions process and what is OUAC. OUAC stands for the Ontario Universities Application Centre. I know this is mainly for international students, so you'll either want to use the OUAC 105 application. That's if you're looking to apply to more than one university in Ontario. You get up to 3 choices with your base fee. Or if you're just interested in applying to the University of Toronto, you can use the University of Toronto International application, which will save you a bit of money, and it's just gonna give you that one choice to U of T. So I think with that, I will leave it to Natasha to